Welcome, 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 welcome. I am back podcasting again. This is the podcast that literally everybody was asking for. Everybody wanted more of this. Everybody was like, when is Trish gonna host a Lost podcast? Lost the TV show, because if you just Google Lost, it doesn't come up to Lost the TV show. You have to type in Lost the TV show, Lost J.J. Abrams, Lost whatever you want to type in. I've been putting this off for a minute because I got sick with freaking the big C, and so I couldn't really do this podcast, but I've been like binging this new show Lost that I'm so obsessed with. If you guys haven't seen it, it's on Hulu, originally on ABC, premiered 2004, just, giving you a quick history lesson on Lost. I was like 16 when the show came out, and I remember it was like a really big deal when the show came out, and I just don't know what I was doing that I had no interest in watching it back then. But let me tell you, 18 years later, and this show's fire. This show like still holds up. This show is everything. So this is my new obsession. So I'm doing like a 12 episode podcast. It's a short-lived podcast, I know. So I don't think we'll get sponsors, I don't think it's going to go up on Spotify. This is just me with my Lost cardboard cutouts to justify to my husband why I bought all these off the ABC store. ABC store still has tons of Lost stuff. They don't have a Charlie cutout. A little bit of shade. And I wonder, because I was watching a podcast, like now this is a little bit of a different Lost podcast. This is not Lost Reddit. This is not Lost Deep Dive. This is not Lost, like, let me get into the philosophy of Lost. This is like Lost from like a dumb bitch. Like, Lost to me is one of those shows that like I would never comprehend. Any J.J. Abrams movie can't comprehend. I think he did Star Trek. I feel like he did the Bourne movies maybe. I'm not sure. But like those are things I can't comprehend when they're just like all over the place. And Lost is kind of that, but it's also for dummies like myself. So this is like the Lost podcast, first time watching Lost, never seen Lost for dummies. I'm only halfway through not even halfway through season 2. So the first few episodes of this podcast is going to be like breaking down the first half of season 1 and then season 2. And then I'm on season 2 now, but there's going to be spoilers because the show is 18 years old. But what I was going to say is I get really into like, you guys know, like my obsessions, right? I love cosplay, first of all, like hence why I'm cosplaying today. But I just get into like the actors, the drama surrounding the show. So I don't think they have Charlie on the ABC site to get one of his cardboard cutouts, because like he said something, I want to say it's like on a Wired interview. He has a podcast. It's called like The Bloomin' Onion or something. It's like, I think it's a Lord of the Rings one, because I've never seen Lord of the Rings. But I would watch Lord of the Rings to go on that podcast just to like meet Charlie from Lost, because I just love the actors. And that's why I love this show. I swear I didn't do anything beforehand. I just have a little bit of a leftover runny nose. But I love the actors so much. So I've like become obsessed with all of them. But I don't think Charlie, like I've been saying, Dominic Monaghan, because he said in an interview, or like I said, either Wired or the Bloomin' Onion podcast, or like, what was the other thing I watched of his? Maybe he was on like Stephen Colbert, something where he said that they don't get a lot of, or maybe that was Lord of the Rings. I think I'm mixing it up. Maybe he doesn't get a lot of residuals from Lord of the Rings merch. I could be mixing everything up. So let me just strike that from the record, because I think that was about Lord of the Rings actually. So I don't know, cut that from whatever. I don't edit. So I'm just saying, cut that to myself. Cut that in your mind. Okay. Okay, rewind. Okay. So, So I really got into Lost because I started watching The Dropout on Hulu. Okay, so I was obsessed with Desperate Housewives. That was like at the beginning of this year. I'm taking water. Like I've been wanting to do this for so long, and my voice just hasn't been fully back. I'm fully fine, but my voice hasn't been fully back, but it's fine. So I was watching The Dropout on Hulu. So I was watching Desperate Housewives. That was where it started. I was watching Desperate Housewives, and I think it's on Hulu. We were buying the seasons on YouTube. What up? What up? Purchasing your TV shows, like, hey, 2022. But we bought all the Desperate Housewives seasons, and I loved it. Desperate Housewives, I bring that up because it was on the same network, ABC, as Lost. And it was at the same time, 2004. And once again, what was I doing in 2004? I have no idea. Obviously not watching TV shows. Obviously I wasn't cultured enough back then. I'm not sure. But after that was over, we were trying to find stuff to watch and there was just like nothing good on. So my husband was like, oh, we should watch like The Dropout. Or no, we watched Anna Delvey, the one about Anna, which is horrible. But again, I think if I can't get into the actors, I can't get into the show, which is so weird. I don't know if that makes sense. But anyways, so we watched Anna Delvey one. I was like, whatever. And then someone's like, oh, you should watch The Dropout, which I never knew any of the backstory of The Dropout, anything like that. So I was like, let's watch it. You know, I love the girl from Mamma Mia, Amanda Seyfried. I was like, yes, we're going to watch this. I had like such good cast, like William H. Macy, Laurie Metcalf, who was on Desperate Housewives. It was just like a really good cast. There's so many more too. I think like Alan Ruck was in it. Like there was just a good cast. But one that stood out to me, and pretty much the reason I'm doing this podcast, because I'm kind of have an obsession with him. Yes, my husband goes with my obsessions. I was like an Andrew Garfield obsession, you guys know. And then Desperate Housewives brought me into my Kyle MacLachlan era. And then now I'm in this Naveen Andrews era. So I saw him in The Dropout and I just thought he was such a cool actor. Like he looked familiar, but I didn't know what he was from. And then I looked him up and I saw Lost. I was like, well, I never saw Lost. And I saw that he was in the Planet Terror, Quentin Tarantino movie. Which, if you guys don't know, I got my start on social media by being Grindhouse Barbie because I was obsessed with that movie. And I actually got to meet like Quentin Tarantino when that movie came out. Like I was obsessed with that movie. So I liked more Death Proof than Planet Terror. And Naveen Andrews was in Planet Terror. Specifically his character in Planet Terror was just like a lot. But Planet Terror was a lot. Like that movie was a lot. But it was a lot about balls, you know, his character. Anyways. But iconic. You know, Quentin Tarantino movie, iconic. So now I've been kind of on a binge of everything Naveen Andrews. And Lost, of course, was his big role. But trust me, I've been watching like English Patient, Diana. He was in the Ten Commandments made for TV movie. I mean, I'm invested. You know what I mean? Someone told me he played Jafar in Once Upon a Time. So like that's the next one we'll do. And let's like get into a new obsession somewhere in between there, which totally could be. And best believe that I'm going to have my husband cosplay Saeed with me cosplaying Hurley because I have a fan fiction in my head that I want to act out with them. And I feel like initially before ever seeing the show, I like looked like and related to Hurley. And like obviously watching the show, I'm still a Hurley. He was in a mental hospital. He loves the lottery. I play lottery all the time. I swear I'm going to win it. And then of course he likes food, which like season 1, they didn't make too many like references to his weight, which I appreciate as a fellow thick, chubby, fat person, whatever. I don't really consider fat derogatory, but like I appreciated that they didn't like go hard on him just being fat. Like that wasn't the point of his character. There was so much more to his character than his weight, than his body. And I also just love that they had that character on TV. Like obviously it's a guy, like, you know, so it's a little different, but I like that they had that representation on TV because that's like, yeah, there's like normal people like that out there, you know? But the second season, not to get ahead because I know we're like going season by season here, they do kind of talk about him like eating like the food out of the, oh my God, I'm spoiling it. It's spoilers, but eating the food out of the hatch. And I'm just like, oh, they don't have to like go that direction with him. Like I get it. Like not all big people are just like obsessed with food. Although I am. So, and maybe Hurley is too. And Saeed, I know a lot of people might come for me because they might be like, oh, you're going to make your husband cosplay him because he's from the Middle East. No, first of all, that's the hot character that I like. So of course I'm going to have my husband cosplay the hot character that I like. Just like when we did Jim and Tammy, the Andrew Garfield era that I was in, I had him be Jim Baker, of course, because that's the hot guy in the movie. So don't come for me, okay? I know somebody will. They'll be like, oh, just because he's Middle Eastern, you're making him play. No, he's the hot ones. I'm having him play the hot one. And yes, I could be Shannon, but let's be real. I am not tall, thin, and beautiful like her. I'm more of a Hurley. So I want to do this fan fiction thing. I think we're going to cosplay it. My husband is such a good sport. He did my Kyle MacLachlan era too. I was obsessed. If you guys look him up, he's so good. He played Orson in Desperate Housewives. And he was also in Showgirls. So for my birthday, my husband cosplayed as Kyle MacLachlan in Showgirls to my Nomi Malone, and it was everything. So that's just our thing. We have fun doing it. But watching the show, he is very much like Saeed in the fact that he's very handy. He's very technical, like military training. Excuse me. I just ate like 5 oranges because I did an ASMR as John Locke. So I have like all this like oranges. And I'm also pregnant. I'm 5.5 months pregnant. So this acidic is like, Which these shows are great to watch while pregnant because it's just like never ending entertainment. I swear we're going to get down to the breakdown of this. But yeah, we have that cosplay. But also like he's kind of a romantic at heart. I love Saeed. He is the best on the show. And he is, there's a lot of eye candy on the show. But I think he's the heartthrob. They like to say Jack over here is the heartthrob, but I think he's the heartthrob. And a close second, I'm going to say John Locke. I think we all collectively agree that John Locke is such a good, amazing character. TV character. He's so good. He's played by Terry O'Quinn, who I also didn't know before the show, but now I'm obsessed with him too. Like I'm going to watch Alias. I'm going to watch everything he's been in because I watch all those things, like 100 facts you didn't know about Lost. Anyways, they'll probably come up as I go through this, but we should probably get into the actual episodes. So I don't know what this podcast is called. Maybe my first time watching Lost or like watching Lost for Dummies or something. I don't know what this is called. Give me a better name because I'm sure whatever I come up with is not going to be good. Okay, let's go. So the pilot is episode 1 and 2. And, okay, so it starts with a crash. So basically, if you guys don't know, Lost is it's about plane crash survivors, basically. So Oceanic Flight 815 crashes. It's going from Australia to Los Angeles, and it crashes. It crashes off, of course. They flew for a couple hours before they crashed, so their chances of being discovered or found, not very likely, because they were so far off course. Okay. The first 2 episodes of season 1, everyone says season 1's the best. Like everyone who has watched the show fully has told me season 1's the best. I do spoilers. I read ahead and see what's happening in the seasons because I just want to know. It doesn't spoil it for me. It makes me more excited to watch the show. But yeah, everyone says season 1's the best. And I have to agree so far. Episodes 1 and 2, I can rewatch because it's like it is a movie. It's basically a movie the way it was shot. The budget for this has to be insane. Like, I mean, obviously J.J. Abrams is like producing it and stuff, so obviously they have a good budget, but basically they show the crash multiple times. The plane basically folds in half, right? The people on the back of the plane, they are presumed to have not survived, and the people at the front, I guess, survived with nothing more than a scar to some of them. Some of them are just like completely fine, which is already giving you like this. I don't know. I love magic, you guys. You know I do. Like, right? I studied a little Wiccan, a little pagan, and I love magic. I love like, I think there's magic in the world. I think we can create magic. I think there's magic in nature. So like, it already kind of sets up the thing that this island is like magical and healing. Obviously, we find that out like in the later episodes coming up in season 1, but it's so intense. The crash is so like, this makes me want to be an actor. I'm like, I want to act this out. Like, I want to act out all these scenes. It's chaos. It's commotion. You don't know the characters yet. So it's just cool. It's just shot like a movie. And it's like action-y, which I don't like action movies. I'm not an action movie person. I'm a musicals person. I like musicals. But it just grabs you right away. It just grabs you. And you see all the characters kind of come out. Now, originally, Jack over here, played by, oh God, what's his name? Matthew Fox, who was on Party of 5. I never watched Party of 5. Actually, I'd never seen him in anything before, but he's like a big TV actor, or was. Because after Lost, he's like, I'm done with TV, which I'm like, why? Anyways, Michael Keaton was supposed to play Jack, who was supposed to die in like the first episode, which is crazy because Jack's the main character. He's like the doctor and the main character. But then once they were going to keep Jack on, Michael Keaton was like, peace out. Basically, he was like, no, I don't want to commit to a TV show for that long. But Michael Keaton as Jack would be so crazy. Like, thinking of that now, I was like, that would actually be kind of iconic. And I'm not going to lie, I wouldn't have cared if Jack died right away. Because I'm not going to lie, the first season, Jack annoyed me so much. I just did not like his vibe. I don't know if it's just because I came off of Desperate Housewives. So he's giving me Mike Delfino vibes, which I'm not a Mike Delfino person. But the two leads, and it has nothing to do with the actors. I know I was saying it's all about the actors, because I'll tell you what, it's the actors who like won me over for these characters. Because the characters of Kate and Jack, which first of all, basic names. Who names? Like, I couldn't even remember their names. Like, these characters had such basic names. But Jack and Kate, they were so boring to me. And I was like, this can't be the leads, right? This can't be, I don't know. I just felt like, no. Jack was like a know-it-all from the beginning to me. And he just didn't seem like he knew it all. Do you know what I mean? Like, the character just wasn't developed there for me. He was like taking charge of everything. And I don't know. I think just personal life, I don't like when people do that. I'm like, who put you in charge? Not that I would be in charge. I would be the bitch sunbathing for sure. But they just annoy me. So the Jack and Kate characters annoyed me so much. And it's not the actors. It's, I think, the way the characters were written. So I'm just going to go ahead and give my critique on the writing real quick. Okay. Sorry, I sound like a freaking frog. I just really wanted to do this because there were so much things. So obviously there's a lot of things that are introduced. One being a freaking polar bear. A polar bear on the island. Right away, that sold me. I was like, oh, we just have polar bears here. Okay, cool. So to me, it was very like mystical. Just magical. Just like a place that I could see existing. It does feel, there's a lot of theories about this island. A lot of theories. Some say, I'm going to just go ahead and spoil it because I'm going to spoil it. Like, I don't know the ending. I do know the ending. But a lot of people don't like the ending. And I haven't fully gotten there yet, but some people say the island is like, it's like limbo. They all died. They all had to go to purgatory. This island is purgatory to like settle demons or settle things they had to like find closure before moving on to the next life. Which is like a theory, I guess, because spoiler alert, I guess they were dead the whole time. Again, I haven't seen it, but I guess some people think they died on the plane crash. Some people think they died before the plane crash. And they all are on this island. Like, they all died at different times. Like, this plane crash, they all died at different times before. And they're all on the island to, like, finish unsettled business. I don't know. It's the way I'm watching it is, like, they're all just survived a plane crash. And they're on an island with polar bears and black smoke and monsters and cool. That's how I'm looking at it. We know there's a federal marshal on board, which means there's guns, which means there's a fugitive. And then we also hear in the first 2 episodes, like, there's like a French woman. They hear the recordings of the French woman. So like they think someone else is on the island with them. But basically it's the crash, where people were, who they were talking to. You kind of don't know, obviously, who's who. But you see everyone do the crash. Like, there's a woman, Rose, whose husband's in the bathroom in the back. Jack calms her down, which is really cool about Lost in general. I love the crisscross. Like, characters are always crisscrossing each other. Like, you'll see Hurley on the TV in freaking Korea where Jin and Sun, are living. You'll see Jack in the same hospital as, like, Shannon's stepdad. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many crossovers, just, like, kind of random. Like, it's cool. I like that. I don't really, yeah. I guess that's kind of playing into, like, its destiny. Again, I'm not philosophical with this kind of stuff, but, like, Sawyer knowing Jack's father or seeing him at a bar, like, gives Jack this sort of, like, oh, maybe not everything's a coincidence. Jack is the doctor. John Locke, best character of all times, he's the man of faith. So we have doctor, man of science, man of faith, and then we have just the rest. Okay. So then we get to episode 3, and then we start getting backstories, which I love this about Lost. I love that they do, like, all this action and you're on an island. It's very Gilligan's Island to me. It's very, like, the professor and Marianne, like a movie star. Like there's all these different, like Charlie's like, he was in a band that was really popular. Now he's not. And then there's a doctor. And then, we have an Iraqi vet. We have a lottery ticket winner who used to work at a fried chicken place. We have like Jin and Sun who are very complicated. We have a con man, a fugitive. This is a whole enigma. But they give backstories of each character. And they do that every episode. So, like, you're on the island, which would be, like, kind of boring, right? Like, you're just on a freaking island. Like, that's why I didn't watch it. I was like, I remember people would make jokes, would be like, are they ever going to get off the island? And it's kind of boring, right? Like, you're just like, oh, you're on an island. But they do flashbacks, which kind of make it, for dummies, a little easier to follow. And it's fun because there's always twists. And you're always like, oh, like, they're really good at the twists. So, I'm taking back what I said about the writers writing boring characters. I think you need boring characters in this because like, there has to be people who, like, move along society on this island, right? Right. So, episode 3, Kate is a fugitive, we learn out. So, basically, they show her backstory. And her backstory is, like, so crazy, actually. The actress is really good. I believe her name is Evangeline Lilly. She's really, really good. So skinny. All the girls on ABC, and I'm sorry, this is a little personal rant tangent for me, on ABC in 2004, like, Desperate Housewives, y'all had to be skinny. And this is what I grew up with. So this is why I think I have like body complexes. Not to say I was ever skinny, but like they were all so skinny. It would be nicer to see, like a Jorge Garcia in girl form on there, like on any of these shows. Anyways, I digress. Desperate Housewives, they had Gabrielle have a daughter who was, plus size, and they just made fun of her the whole time. Anyways, that's a whole other thing. But I always notice how skinny these people are because I'm like, wow, they're so skinny. And being a chubby person my whole life, I'm just like, I wish I always attained to be that. There's nothing wrong with it because obviously it's beautiful and it's healthy and all that stuff like that. But I wish we had more representation than just Roseanne Barr. But we find out she's a fugitive. We find that out a lot. She kind of just has like a sordid past. She's just always in trouble. And she's always causing chaos, and she's always doing some crime. And I can't really figure out why. I'm on season 2, and I can't figure out why she's so messy. Like, I get it. She had, like, a mom and not maybe, like, I guess she had a dad, too, though. So I'm not sure why she's so messy, but she's messy. And this is just one of her scenarios. We don't really know what she did, why she did it, but it kind of just shows her being, like, captured in Australia, like, turned into Australia. She's on the flight with the marshal. She's all nervous because the marshal's in bad condition. But Jack, the doctor right here, Dr. Jack, he is trying to like help him. He tries to help everyone. Jack tries to help everyone survive. Even if he doesn't like you, he will try and help you survive. That's a real doctor right there. That's a doctor right there. I like him for that reason. Boring character, but that's a doctor. That's what we need. So he's trying to help this marshal. And the marshal is a bad character just from the start either too. Like, I just don't like him, so you kind of don't really care if he lives or dies. Spoiler, he dies. But Kate checks in on him because she like does not want him to live because like he's after her. But also you're on an island, so like what are you gonna do on an island? Like, this is what I don't understand sometimes. Like, people break up on the island and I'm like, you're on an island. Like, does it matter if you break up? And obviously it doesn't matter if you're a fugitive. Like Dr. Jack over here points out, it's like she's gonna tell him what she did. And Dr. Jack is like, it doesn't matter. He actually says this in the episode because I knew the spoiler. He's like, we all died 2 days ago, so we all get a chance to start fresh. So he didn't even want to know what she did, which was interesting. So maybe they do die. I don't know. It's one of those things that are just like open. Saeed himself over here, Naveen Andrews, has said in interviews that like he appreciates when like fans go into these deep dive theories, but he himself doesn't think the show is that deep. It's just kind of chaos. That's what I've read in interviews, which is interesting. So the marshal's about to die. Everybody basically wants to put him out of his misery because like he's screaming, like squealing like a pig on the island. So Sawyer's like, I'm going to shoot him. And Sawyer shoots him, but does not kill him, which is the whole point, is like, and there was one bullet left. And he doesn't kill him. So the guy's like in more pain. So Dr. Jack over here, who didn't even want to euthanize him because he thought that was murder, has to basically end his life. He's like behind a tent, so he's like strangles him or something. So basically he becomes a murderer because Sawyer couldn't do it. And I'm just like, okay. Which is weird because Sawyer is set up to be kind of like competent and incompetent at the same time. It's very confusing. Like he did shoot a polar bear, I think, but then couldn't shoot a guy like that close. I don't know. Kate was relieved and Kate was like, heck yeah. So going on to episode 4. This is John Locke's backstory, which I love. I love this. I love his backstory. He has such a great spoiler in his story straight up. He has the best backstories. Again, first, like, character analysis was weird. He gave me creepy vibes, kind of Dr. Evil vibes. I don't know. I was like, this is not a good guy. But honestly, he's so good and he's such a good character and this guy's such a good actor. I'm obsessed with John Locke. So we know his backstory, which he was in a freaking wheelchair before the plane. Like, later on we see this, but like he like literally had to be carried like from his wheelchair to be on the plane. Now, where I'm at now in season 2, we still don't know how he got in the wheelchair, but of course I looked up spoilers and I know how he got in the wheelchair. But spoilers don't bother me. It just gets me more excited to watch it. So basically, sorry, I'm like looking at my audio over here, make sure it's recording. So we get to see John Locke. He's like in a wheelchair and he wants to go like hunt. Like, he goes over to Australia to be like a hunter. In his real life, is he like does he do something with boxes? I'm trying to think like what he was like in his life. Or he like works at like a Walmart and like helps greets people there. I'm not sure. I know he has like a really boring job and he's like a basic person, but then he goes to Australia because he wants to like hunt. Like that's why he has all these like knives. Like he's the one that has like all these knives that he checked and he was going to go on this big trip. But then we see like him at the end of the episode be like, the guy's like, oh, well, you can't go because you misrepresented yourself. Basically, you can't go because you're in a freaking wheelchair. So how are you going to go on this like hunting safari with all of us? And that's when we hear the infamous lines like, don't tell me what I can't do. He gets upset. He's such a good actor. He's the best actor on the show. Naveen Andrews is the best actor. I'm going to say Terry O'Quinn's the best actor. I don't know if any of these people have won Emmys. I should look that up. But he's so good on this show. So good. But he's the hottie. But he definitely is so good. So yeah, he was like in a wheelchair. But like we never see signs of that. We just see him come out of a crash and like walk away. So yeah, and then he becomes like the hunter and the person everyone's like kind of like, ooh, who's this guy? Like threw a knife at Sawyer. He's going to hunt wild boar. Nobody knows that he was handicapped before this island, which once again is like, oh, this island is like kind of healing. And John Locke likes to reference the island as like his destiny and it's no coincidence. And like there's a reason they're all there, which I can get down. I can get by. But he goes hunting. He does see the monster. The special effects in this too, it's 2004. So the special effects are just kind of wild. They're hokey, which is so weird because 2004 is like not that long ago. I guess it is. But the black smoke is so funny. It's just like this like scary thing that follows them, but it's like not scary, which again is why I like the show, I guess. Because I think if it was like truly terrifying, I don't think I could watch a show. But it is graphic. There's a lot of blood and stuff. I'm sometimes like, did Quentin Tarantino do this movie? Because it's crazy. But he sees the monster. He's not afraid of it. He thinks it's beautiful. And that's a notable thing right there. Because everyone else is like scared of this black smoke. A monster. Okay. I had to take a bathroom break. My camera stopped. Got some new water. I don't know if I sound crazy. But this show's really good. I do have a mood disorder. I do have some mental illnesses that are under control. I manage them, but if anyone's watching this, being like, my husband puts up with so many of my weird obsessions. Like I get obsessed. Like, I want to be in these shows. Like, I want to be friends with these actors. Like, it's so weird. Trust me, I keep everything at a arm's length, but I don't know what it is. I want to be in this show so bad. I, like, watch it. I'm like, oh, I wish I could be there. I watch, like, behind-the-scenes stuff. They were, like, all singing, like, I don't know, like a Hank Williams song or something around, like, the beach, and they were all singing country music, like, behind the scenes. I'm like, I want to be friends with all these people. Anyway, so episode 4... Oh my God, we're only on episode 4. We got to get through this today. And then they burn the bodies of the deceased. I don't know if they do that for like smell purposes or like just to be respectful. I guess probably the smell, I would assume. All right. Number 5 is Jack. Episode 5 is Jack. The water bottles go missing and we get Jack's backstory. We establish Jack as the leader, which he already established himself. Jack was already established as the leader. But the main one with this episode is he sees his dead father, which I didn't know was his dead father. And it was this episode gave me chills. This is the one that actually creeped me out and gave me nightmares for real. I don't know why it was so creepy, but like he would see this man in like a full suit on the beach. And it was just so creepy. It was so weird. I don't know what it was. And then we found out like it was obviously his dad. So Jack's backstory, we know Kate over here, fugitive. She was being captured and brought back to LA. He was in Australia to get his father who was deceased and bring him back. So basically his father's casket was in the bottom of the plane. So he sees him all over the island. He finds his casket. The dad's not in the freaking casket. The body's out of the casket. So I don't know what that means. And again, I'm on season 2, like halfway through. And I'm still not really sure what that signifies, what that means. Someone stole his body. That was him. Like the island healed him and brought him back to life. And he's like out and about roaming. He's hallucinating. I don't know. But we get Jack's backstory. And it's, we kind of understand a little bit more about him. It could be better. His backstory could be better on this one. We get a lot of Jack backstory, so we find out a lot more. It does get better, but yeah. Episode 6, they're moving to the caves. Locke helps Charlie get clean. Jen attacks Michael. Jen is handcuffed to the wreckage. Sun speaks English. Sun and Jim backstory. So this one is Sun and Jim's backstory. And he really scared me. He really creeped me out the first episode. He still does. He reminds me of like a serial killer or something like that on the show. I'm sure the actor Daniel Day Kim, I know his name. He doesn't seem so scary. Like he grew up in New York and like, he was on Hawaii Five-0 and he seems very like a human. But for some reason on the show, he seems very like, I guess because the way they portray him, like he like works for her father and it just seems very like scary. Obviously like the first backstory we see of him, his hands are like all bloody with someone else's blood and his wife is like, what is going on? They speak only Korean. Sometimes they give us subtitles, sometimes they don't, so that's kind of confusing. But you know me, I love foreign languages. I love when people speak foreign languages, so I'm obsessed with it. I really like their backstory. I think it's really sweet. Like he obviously goes to work for her father to marry her because he's like, she's my dreams, blah, blah, blah. So they move to the cave. So they're all like, basically the whole survivors were like on the beach, just like sleeping on the beach. And they've elevated in season 2, not to get ahead of myself, but they've elevated, but they were all sleeping on the beach. Then they go all sleep in the caves. And the caves are kind of everything, but I don't think I would move to the caves because like I want to be there for the rescue. I don't think they keep anyone at the beach, do they? I want to say they all moved to the caves. And at this point, they're all kind of chilling. They just think there's like a black smoke monster in the middle of the jungle. Like they don't think anything else is happening on the island. So they're all just kind of chilling, like they're on vacation. They're in the caves. They're chilling. They got their water bottles. They're filling it up like in the spring. Did we talk about that? The water bottles go missing. Yeah, in the Jack episode, everyone thinks Sawyer took the water bottles, and it's freaking Boone. Which, by the way, Boone and Shannon, oh my God. If they would have waited a couple more years, Joey Graceffa and Justine could have played Boone and Shannon. I watch it, and I see Joey Graceffa so much, and Boone, like I was like, he's played by Ian Somerhalder, I think his name is. And Shannon's played by Maggie Grace, and they totally could have been YouTubers. They're really good casting. But I was like, that's going to be Joey Graceffa and Justine. If they ever do a YouTube version of Lost, Joey Graceffa and Justine. So, yeah. Move to the caves. Oh, okay, so this one is, sorry, I'm getting distracted. I was like, I should probably blow my nose, but, we're just going to keep it moving. But, basically, yeah, this one, Jin attacks Michael. I don't have a Michael one. Oh, Michael is so good. He's in Oz. He's really, really good. Oh, Michael and Walt. I don't think they had his cardboard cut out. I'm trying to think. I don't think they did. I would have gotten it. Dang, I want to get that. But Michael and his son Walt. Michael's an estranged father from Walt. And Jin attacks Michael kind of out of nowhere. But it's really because he has a watch that belonged to her dad. We found out later on that that's what they're transporting. Like, his job was to bring this watch from, I guess, Australia to LA, even though they're from Korea. So he sees Michael wearing it and just assumes he's like a thief. Pretty much like tries to kill Michael. Everyone sees this. They handcuff Jin to the freaking wreckage. He has his handcuffs still in season 2. I was like, can't they get this handcuff off him? So, yeah. So he's handcuffed to the wreckage. And everyone's like, this person's crazy. Michael thinks it's a race thing, which they don't touch too much on, like, they don't touch too much on that in Lost. Which I kind of I kind of like too, because it's kind of like the weight thing with Hurley. Like, I like when things aren't about race and about, like, you know, like bluntly, or they just like put it in your face. Now, obviously, all of Lost is that. Like, it's very diverse. Obviously, you have all these diverse people. You have people who don't speak English. You have an Iraqi veteran, and this was at a time, and like, this is like 2004, so it's like a time when everyone's like really sensitive to people from the Middle East. And then, you know, you have a bigger guy. You have like all these walks of life that are obviously, there's stereotypes to it, but the show doesn't like blatantly smack you in the face with it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how to, I guess they just don't make it, they don't make it a storyline. Like, it's just kind of different, like a diverse group of people existing. I think I still have orange in my teeth. Okay. If that makes sense. I don't know. I kind of like when things aren't just like forced, you know, like, this is this, you know what I mean? But it was a good, it did make sense. What he was saying is like, he thought it was because of his race. And then Jen, our son, the wife, we find out she speaks English. And who does she speak English to? She speaks English to Michael. And Michael's the only one who knows she speaks English. Not even Jen, her husband, knows that she speaks English, because he cannot know. And why does son speak English? Well, because, sorry, I think I'm audio. Because she was going to leave Jen. She was like literally going to leave. She was supposed to leave. That was like part of the plan at the airport. But she didn't. And Jen over here, he, you know, because he's a workaholic, he's like secretive, he's like punching people, coming home with bloody hands. He was about to bounce. He was going to quit. They were going to go to LA and not come back. He was going to just leave with son, and that was going to be their life. Meanwhile, son was about to leave him. Messy. But once again, it's the island. It's the island, and people just come back together at the island. I don't know. The fact that she was on the plane. The one thing I do like about this is like the destiny thing. I do think all of this is destiny, because there was all reasons why people got on this specific flight. Like, there were supposed to be reasons why they weren't supposed to be on it, why she wasn't supposed to be on it. But there was like reasons, you know, they're like, I have to get on this flight, or like, I can't go on a flight till tomorrow, like change my flight. So I think it was a destiny thing. I do like that backstory. And then, of course, John Locke, our little hero over here, this little cute face, he helps Charlie get clean. And I really like this one. So Charlie was never my favorite character either. I wish he was on here. But he's grown on me. But he's basically like, he was in a band called Drive Shaft. And it's kind of like, yeah, I know you know me from my band. And everyone's like, no, we don't know you from your band. But he's just kind of like this, like, has been like rock star. He's kind of young. He's like British or Australian or something. Obviously, he's like the druggie. So I guess what I was just saying about stereotypes is like, this one kind of plays into the stereotype of like rock star addicted to drugs. It makes sense. And I like that he was on this island, because like that's an element that's like that's a walk of life that makes sense to be on the island, and just dealing with withdrawals alone is like crazy. So like, I liked it. I thought they pushed it a little too hard. I thought they like went a little too hard on like, he's a heroin addict. Like, we kind of could have understood that without it being so, again, blatant in our face. But I liked him. I liked that they had this character. And I don't know why they had to be so harsh and be like, you're a heroin addict. Like, I don't know. Probably just triggered me a little bit. But yeah, he helps him get clean. And basically Locke is like the smartest guy on the island once again, because he's like, I'm going to give you back your drugs. But like, you have to ask me 3 times and then I'll give you back your drugs. Basically being like, I'm going to let you make the choice if you want to get your drugs back. So he asks him once, asks him twice, ask him a 3rd time. So the 3rd time, John Locke's, all right, you making this decision, here's your drugs. Like, and then he destroys his heroin. He destroys his drugs. I was like, okay, Charlie, I like that. Because he was like jonesing. He was withdrawing. Like, Dr. Jack knew, Mr. Locke knew, and he made the decision to like dump it out. I mean, you had to eventually. I mean, you're on the island. But withdrawals are nasty. I obviously never was addicted to heroin, but like obviously I've had withdrawals from heavy drugs. It's not fun. And then you're on an island? No. Again, I liked that walk of life character. I liked his little backstory, which I think we get into in episode 7. Yeah, it's the Charlie flashback. His flashbacks are kind of always the same. I should blow my nose. I'm sorry if my nose is bothering anyone. We're good. Yeah. So Charlie's flashbacks are always the same. Even in season 2, they're like, we just watched like, I think it's like season 2, episode 10 or something. And it's like basically the same episode as episode 7 in season 1, which is basically like showing that his brother got him into the drugs and he never really wanted that life. But his brother pushed him into it, like that, because they were rock stars. The band is called Drive Shaft. I think they only have one song because that's all they play. The song is lit, not gonna lie. Drive Shaft is a horrible name for a band, but that's neither here nor there. They seem pretty talented. They seem pretty cool. But his backstories are basically just like, oh, his brother got him on drugs, and then his brother kind of like abandoned him when he got a family and was like, okay, good luck. Like, I'm not going to do music with you anymore. And so Charlie's like, what the hell am I supposed to do? So we get his backstory. We see that like he finds like a well-to-do girl. He's going to steal from her to get more drugs, kind of falls for her, but ends up stealing and ends up getting caught with the stuff because he starts doing drugs in like the middle of his meeting. And he has like this like crazy episode. She finds whatever the thing is, the Winston Churchill picture frame that he stole, and she's like, I thought you were better than this. And he's like, yeah, no, I'm not. So we kind of see, it's always good to see the backstories with like their romanticness too. So you kind of see that they were like met where they messed up in real life. So yeah, I'll get a Kleenex next break because I feel like my nose is a little thing. But Charlie, even though he's kind of like annoying and a mess and like he doesn't really help anyone, he kind of seems to always be in the way on the island, which is like there's a lot of like alpha males and masculine guys on the island that like are, even John Locke over here, right? He's older, but he's alpha male. He's helping. He's hunting the boar, like he's doing shit, you know, building cradles, all this stuff. All of them kind of are. Hurley's doing a census of people. You know, everyone's kind of doing what they can. Jen over here catching fish. Sawyer just being manly, doing manly things. Charlie's always kind of like in the way. Tries to help, but like, no, never does. It's like, what are you doing, Charlie? And of course, he's the drug addict. So everyone's just like, you're a drug addict. Like, you're not going to do much. But he redeems himself because he's small and he can get in the crevice where Jack is in the cave. So yeah, I know I'm kind of like summarizing all these episodes, but I'm telling you, like, it's really worth the watch because I was like, oh, the fact that he was able to like sacrifice himself made me really get back behind Charlie. He tried to save Jack but didn't, and I think that really is the testament to Charlie's character. Is like, you tried, but like you just didn't succeed. We see this a lot with Charlie. Charlie is just, and he's also just a smaller build. So I don't know. It just makes him kind of look a little like weak on the show. He always tries though. So I was like, you know what? He went in that cave to try and get him, and like ultimately, I guess kind of saved him because he found the way out. So good job, Charlie, on that one. We love that. But all right, episode 8. This is Saeed's backstory. Is it Saeed's backstory? No, it's Sawyer's backstory. Saeed tortures Sawyer because everyone thinks Sawyer has these inhalers, which, by the way, he doesn't deny. He could just say, I don't have the inhalers. Basically, Shannon has like an asthma problem. Shannon's like the hot blonde with the hot brother. She's kind of sunbathes and wait, but whatever. She needs her inhaler because like you need inhalers. And everyone thinks Sawyer has it. Like Sawyer is a character where everyone thinks that like he does steal things. Like he just steals everyone's things. I don't know why. I don't know why that's like his setup, but he is. And so we get Sawyer's backstory. We get that his name's not Sawyer. Oh, we find out. So basically, we see him. We think basically he's a con man. But we basically think he like, sleeps with these women that have money, kind of makes it feel like it's their idea. He basically then like opens up his suitcase in front of these women. Okay, backstory. So Sawyer will find these women and sleep with them. Maybe they're married. Maybe they just were recently divorced. Whatever. They always have money. And he's like, I gotta go to a meeting after they've had like, they hooked up or whatever, which, I get it. So then he like, the suitcase opens up and there's money. Like, oh my God, what are you doing with all the money? And he's like, oh, well, like, I don't want you to know about this, but it's an investment opportunity and someone's going to match this. So it looks like it's $150,000 in a suitcase. So then the wife or whoever he's sleeping with will be like, oh, actually, like, we have money. Like, we want to invest. So then he kind of like does this con to like invest. But then when he goes to that person's house, he sees that they have a kid and he's like, nope, the deal's off. We're not doing it. And you're just like, what the hell happened? Like, you're going to con this woman, but because she has a kid, you're not going to take their money. Well, we find out that like something similar happened to basically Sawyer. Like he has this letter, right? And everyone thinks the letter is like from a kid's perspective to Sawyer being like, you slept with my mom. My dad found out, killed my mom, and then killed himself. But what we find out is actually Sawyer, like it's actually like written from his perspective. We find out his dad kills himself and his mother because she was having an affair. Crazy. So I was like, okay, again, another good twist. So Saeed back on the island, we get we get a little bit of insight to him. Can you see him? I feel like I'm blocking him. My pillow is okay. There we go. He's torturing Sawyer, and it's a pretty big torture scene. All the torture scenes I cannot watch. It's a lot. But he basically tortures him. And then he's like, I'll tell Kate, basically. So basically Sawyer's like, I'm going to tell Kate. Just stop and I'll tell her. So then she comes. He's like, you have to give me a kiss. She gives him a kiss. And then he's like, I don't have the inhalers. So I don't know. Like, take that for what you will. But then Saeed, we see his like soul. And he feels so bad about this. And he's like, I got to go exile myself from this island. He says he's going to go take a walk. So he goes and takes a walk. Because he feels bad that he tortured. Because he's not a torturer. Like he is. Because that's like how the military made him. But he's like not at heart. And Sawyer is a con man at heart. And as Sawyer says, a tiger doesn't change his stripes. So Sawyer's kind of like cool with being a con man. And I'm cool with that. Episode 9. We're getting to episode 12. And then I swear I have some input on this. Episode 9 is... This is Saeed's flashback. And I love it. I love it because I love to see him on the screen. But also his backstory is just intense. And I feel like his backstory is just like too real. Obviously, I'm not a military expert. I'm not an expert on Iraqi military. But just like it feels real. Do you know what I mean? The way they set it up. Everyone else's backstories feel like a little bit... The ones we've seen so far feel a little far-fetched, okay? Kate, I don't buy her as being this, like, badass fugitive that's escaping. Again, it has nothing to do with the actress. It's, like, the way it's written. It just seems a little far-fetched. Sun and Jin, not that their stories aren't relatable, but, again, it feels like more like a Quentin Tarantino movie or something, whereas, like, oh, you work for this, like, boss that just, like, tells you to go and kill people. Like, it just... Not that it can't be relatable. It's just something that like doesn't seem real. Sawyer's backstory. Sawyer's just like the Brad Pitt from Thelma and Louise. They kind of just took that character and like flopped him in here. Because I think the original... I think Sawyer was created for him. I think originally it was supposed to be like a New York mafia old man or something. I don't know. But Saeed's backstory is just like feels so real, and it's like because of the era of the show, it just kind of like takes you back into this like time. I don't know. His backstory is crazy. So he's in the Iraqi military. He has to torture this girl that he's known since childhood, who obviously he has a crush on, Nadia. And we just see him being a romantic. He basically saves her by shooting like one of his own, which is like, you know, in that culture, in that world, you know, you're a martyr. You sacrifice yourself. You don't go against your people. You know what I mean? But he's just like, no, I'm going to just shoot this military person that I'm with to save the girl I love. So that's cute. We get to see that cute little story, but I mean, he's had a hard life, Saeed, but I like that he's sensitive. Basically he gets kidnapped. Saeed is super smart and super savvy and super like intimidating, but he's always getting like captured by like people like that, like how? Do you know what I mean? Like the French woman that captures him in this episode, we finally get to hear. So there was like French whispers at the beginning when they were trying to do the signals, which I didn't even mention. They were trying to do signals. Basically, someone knocked Saeed out. They heard like French whispers. He meets the woman that's doing the French whispers for 16 years on this signal. Her name's Russo. I think she has a little crush on Saeed because she totally could have just like killed him. She tries to torture him. But then kind of like just like lets him go because I don't know, it's him. But I can tell she has a little crush. I feel like there's a little like tension there. I had to look it up if they dated. I'm like, I feel like this person they dated. They did not date that I know of. So he's like captured. She's like, there's others on this island. This is the first time we hear about others. This is the first time we're hearing whispers, I think. I think it's the first time we're hearing whispers. So we know about the black smoke monster, but now we know there's like others on the island and like black smoke whispers. Russo has had a baby. She killed all the people she was with, apparently. Been on the island 16 years, but just kind of chilling in her own little hut. It's kind of out of nowhere, but like we love that. That's what we're coming to expect here on Lost. Just out of nowhere. So he kind of gets out. And he's like, I'm going to go back to my side of the island because let's be real. Like their side of the island is chilling. We meet other people, not the others, but we meet other people that are not chilling on the island right now. Spoiler alert. They're the opposite of chilling. They're fighting for their life. These survivors kind of just chilling. They're making their own drama. Like save that drama for your mama. But yeah, so he gets out, hears the whispers. And we're like, what's going on? My nose is clear. Okay, everything is going good. Okay, we have like a few more episodes, and then I'm going to give you my little analysis of this and why you should be watching Lost and why there should be a reboot. And let's just a recap. So let's just go through these last couple episodes. Episode 10, this is the first half of season 1. Claire thinks someone is stabbing her. Hurley takes a census. Ethan was not on the plane, and Claire's psychic was meant to keep the baby. So once again, we're showing Destiny. We're showing Claire's backstory. She's basically having a baby. She's very young. Her boyfriend like doesn't want her or the baby anymore, so she's like, gonna give it up. The psychic's like, no, you need to keep this baby. Like the psychic's like, this baby's meant for you to protect. Like you have to keep it. So she's basically like, no, I'm not keeping my baby. Like whatever. He basically gets her on a flight from, I think he tells her like there's like an adopted parent or something in LA. He basically gets her a flight from Australia to LA to be like give up the baby there, but he knows like this is the flight she needs to be on in order to protect the baby. Which is pretty cool. I wish they would have delved more into this guy, this like psychic guy, because I thought that was like pretty cool. But basically she's having like, she's in the cave. She thinks someone's like stabbing her, like kidnapping her. There's this guy, Ethan, who's, you know, kind of like shisty looking. I'm kind of like, okay, who's this goof or whatever. And basically like he wasn't on the plane. Like basically Hurley's like, I took a census, like this person's not on the plane. They're like, what the hell? Who's Ethan? Who's this guy? Right? So, yeah, so basically we figure all that out, kind of like what's happening. We go to episode 11, and this is when you go after Ethan. So okay. So there's a lot, actually. There's actually a lot in this episode. So basically, okay, we have another little Jack backstory. Basically, Jack backstory, Dr. Jack over here. He basically is like, his father was like drunk or something during a surgery, and basically he was gonna like lie and cover for him because he was also a doctor. But then he's like, no, my dad's a drunk, like bar him from this place or whatever. So we find that out in Jack's backstory. Jack is like struggling a lot in this episode. So basically they go after Ethan. Claire's gone. Claire's like, where the hell is Claire? Charlie goes to look for Claire. Jack tries to find Charlie, like this whole thing. Jack gets like the shit beat out of him basically by this Ethan guy. And he's like, don't freaking follow me, is basically what he says. And yeah, basically he's like, if you follow me, like you will die, like people will die. So this is our first like little like insight of like the others, like the other people on the island. But like we don't know why they want to harm. We don't know why they took Claire. It's just all very confusing. So he gets the crap beaten out of him. Then he discovers Charlie like hanging, like literally hanging, like dead basically. He has to like literally beat him back to life. He comes back to life, which is great, but also like what the hell? Like his neck is effed. Like poor Charlie. Like honestly, Charlie's had a hard life. Like I'm not gonna lie. Like he's had a hard life. And then Boone and Locke discover the hatch, which I didn't know what the hell a hatch was. I was like, this is the dummy in me coming out. I was like, what is the hatch? Like, thank God I have a smart husband. I was like asking him these questions. I'm like, I don't know what a hatch is. They see this hatch. He kind of is like, we're going to just stare at this hatch till it opens. And Boone's like, what? We can't just stare at the hatch till it opens. And he's like, shut up, Boone. I'm old. Like, you're pretty. Like, we're going to stare. Michelangelo did it and had the statue of David or something like that. And yeah. So there's this hatch, which is like something they want to open. And then episode 12, to wrap up the first half of season 1, we have a little bit more of Kate's backstory. It's kind of like a weird one again. Like, I don't know. I can't get into her character yet. I'm just very much like, I don't know if I just can't relate to it. But basically, we just see her like rob a bank with a guy, like a random guy again, like, but not in Australia, like where she was. She's just like robbing a bank to get like guns and like a toy plane. Like she just tries to get this toy plane. I don't even know what's happening in this episode. It's kind of a mess. But she finds Marshall's, the Marshall that was like transporting her from Australia to Ella. She finds the case on the island. Like they're underwater, her and Sawyer. And she's like, oh, you have to give me that case. That's my case. And Sawyer's like, I don't believe you, Freckles. Like he's all like, what's in this case? And there's guns in the case. But she wants this little plane out of the case. I don't know. Kind of a mess. I feel like with her backstories, they're just kind of a mess. And I don't understand why they're so messy and why they're so random. I guess we're just trying to show that she's like a lost soul. No pun intended. I don't know. But yeah, that's pretty much all of season 1, or the first half of season 1. Let me just, I turn this off. Okay. And we also see Shannon and Saeed being flirty birdies in this episode, which I like. I like when there's romance. I like when there's sex involved. Because I was thinking that. I was like, they have to get horny on the island. Like all of them. But none of them seem to be too much. These three right here, Jack, Kate, and Sawyer, they kind of be like horny for, these two are horny for her. But we don't see it too much with the couple. We don't really see it with Mr. Hurley. But we don't even see it really with them. They're kind of just like flirty birdies, but they're not really like horny birdies. I don't know. Him and Shannon tend to be a little horny birdies, which I kind of like. So that gives you a little something for like, you know, if you're into like more romance and passion, if you want to see that in an action movie, which they lack sometimes. But that's probably not the premise of the show. That's more Desperate Housewives if you want to see sex. But all right, now that we got that out of the way, let's talk the importance on societal norms now. Here's my thing. I think Lost should be brought back. I think they should give the ending that we all want, right? It's kind of like Game of Thrones. I'm sorry, my own stop for a second. Hold on. It's kind of like Game of Thrones where like we weren't happy with the ending. So why not give us a different ending? And I feel that with Lost. I feel like we should go back to season 1, but make it a finale. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. I haven't seen the whole thing, so I can't really like give my wrap up. But my wrap up of season 1, let's just go for the first half of season 1. Absolutely amazing. This show, like, is like everything I needed to excite me in life. I feel like sometimes I'm just like, okay, my life can be so boring. This is the show that like excites me. I love the representation. I love the diversity. I love that it doesn't throw it in your face that it's like, okay, this is diversity. I love that we can all get together as like society. I should probably blow my nose again. that we can all like function like when we need to. Like Jack doesn't know any of these people, and he's just trying to like help everyone live and survive, right? He's getting food. Jen and John, they be getting food for everyone. It's also very biblical. I've read some like conspiracy theories that this is like very biblical. Like Sawyer's real name is James. Jack's last name is Shepherd. There's obviously a lot of biblical parallels. There's one whole episode called like Psalm 23. It becomes more biblical, later on. I'm not really sure like all of that. But I just think like they don't make TV like this anymore. Not to sound like that person, because I'm going to sound like a boomer. But like this was my era and I didn't like watch it. But I kind of like it holds up still. And it's just like a show to teach us all about like humanity and kindness and how we all can like band together in times of like crisis, right? Like everyone can coexist with each other for the most part. I like that. I like it. Again, I don't get into like symbolism. I don't really get into all that. Like I don't really know. But the cast is phenomenal. Like I just really wish we had more ensemble cast like this. And Desperate Housewives. I could do a whole podcast on Desperate Housewives too. But like why don't they make TV like this anymore? Like, I don't understand, like, what happened? What happened along the way? I think all these actors are great. And I don't think they need to do anything more. Because I was going to say, like, I haven't really seen them in anything since. But I don't know if they need to. I'm sure they got hella residuals. I looked it up. I don't know how, like, accurate it is. But, like, they got paid pretty good. I feel like the first season, and I could be totally wrong, but what I read was they all got like $40,000 an episode for like the first season, which is kind of unheard of. And they did 25 episodes in the first season. That's like $1 million, right? Is it more than $1 million, $2 million? I don't know. But I haven't seen them in much else since. Sawyer's played by James Holloway, who's actually, he's a really, really, really good character too. I feel like I didn't talk about him enough. Like I feel like I kind of glossed over him. But he's so good. He's just so dramatic and like he's just a lot. Like he doesn't feel like a real character. He feels like this like over the top character. But again, very like Gilligan's Island, right? Kate, Miss Evangeline Lilly, I think she was in Lord of the Rings. I think her and Charlie like got married in real life. I think during the show. I don't know what else she's done. She's beautiful. She has the smallest little features. I think she's so beautiful, but yeah. Terry O'Quinn, I don't know what he's doing either. But once again, he's done so much, so I don't think he needs to do anything. Matthew Fox was like, I'm done with TV. I don't know why he said that. I saw an interview. He's like, I'm done. I would never do TV again. I don't know why. But he seems to be chilling, and he's been married since like 1992, which I think is so cool. I'm like all about these actors, right? Their personal lives. I love when they're married for a long time. Sawyer, too. He's been married to the same woman since like before the show, like 2001. I think that's cool. I think that's super cool. Not that like I'm judging anyone, like who am I to judge anybody, but I think that's cool when they can like stay married in Hollywood, especially being on like a hit show. Like I think that's so cool. Then we got Saeed over here, Naveen Andrews, who was like killing it in The Dropout on Hulu. Like the stark difference between him now versus then. I mean, like just aged beautifully, first of all, but like so different. I would have never recognized him, and I love to see him on stuff. I love watching his interviews with Amanda Seyfried too. They like went around and did stuff, and he like wears this like trench coat, and he's like this dark black like long hair again. He's just like, and he's so mysterious. Like he's not on social media or anything. They're all kind of like that. They all kind of like just disappear. They're like not on social media. The only one I know that's on social media is Dominic Monaghan, who's doing that podcast, and he's still very into social media, which is great. Like, hi. I wish Terry O'Quinn would get on social media. This phone case, by the way, like, why is that the coloring off so bad? I got it off, like, Redbubble. It could have been such a cool photo, but this is I had the orange earlier in my mouth, and it just, yeah. There's, like, a vlog. There's, like, an ASMR. Go check it out if you want. But, yeah, we love that. He's thriving. I think he probably is the most thriving. Like, I don't know, financially speaking, but, like, he does the most work, it seems. Like he did Once Upon a Time. I don't know if it was before or after. But yeah, he plays everything and everyone. And I think that's amazing. He was so good in The Dropout. So good. I highly recommend that. That's what got me onto this kick. Jorge Garcia over here plays Hurley. I don't know too much about his personal life, but he seems cool. Whenever I see behind the scenes clips, like he just seems like his character. He just seems dope. Like you just want to be his bud. I love his backstory. I can't even talk about his backstory because his backstory is really cute. And then Jin and Sun over here. Jin's actually killing it. I know he's kind of cut off over there, but Daniel Day Kim was like, he was in that movie, like, Always Be My Maybe. So good. And I didn't know him at the time, but I remember thinking like, oh, that guy's like so handsome. And then was in Hawaii Five-0. He did like a whole TV series after this, Hawaii Five-0. And I was like, okay, good for him. I think he's like living in Hawaii. I think Josh Holloway, maybe. I think he's living in Hawaii too. I think they all bought houses in Hawaii, which why not? If you're filming in Hawaii, why not? I don't know much about this lovely actress, but she is very good on the show. And yeah, that's pretty much my deep dive into watching Lost for the first time and coming from a dummy's perspective. There's a lot of questions that I do have about this, but I feel in general, Lost is meant to confuse you. You're meant to be lost when watching Lost. Like, I'm confused a lot of times. I don't know what's always happening, but the actors carry me through, and I'm like, okay, I can get into it. I love the twists. I'm smart enough to follow along with the twists. I love the flashbacks. I can't wait to get into the flash forwards and the flash sideways. Yes, Lost does flash sideways, where they like show parallel universes or like in the future. I've read spoilers. I heard that they get rescued, but then come back to the island. Then they go back to like the 1970s. Then a man in black captures them. Then like just like crazy stuff. I looked up all their deaths, all the characters' deaths, because like I cannot be invested in a show and not know, like I can't be surprised by a character's death. It'll ruin me. I learned that from Desperate Housewives. Like when characters would die on that show, it ruined me. I was like, ah. So I had to start doing spoilers there. So I had to do all spoilers. I had to look up on YouTube like all the deaths of the Lost cast. Like I had to look that up. Because I'm so invested in it that I just can't. There's some main character deaths coming up in Lost already. And I'm just like, was that necessary? I don't know. But sorry my voice has been out. Sorry I've had a stuffy nose. I was sick for like 2 weeks and I'm totally fine, but I just sound sick and I just like will never. I think the stuffy nose might be more pregnancy. Also, Claire is pregnant on the island. I would love to do a Claire cosplay, but because I'm pregnant too, but I can't do an Australian accent to save my life, so probably doesn't matter. I could just probably do my best. No one really cares that much. But hey, if you want if you want a second episode to this banger of a podcast, Lost podcast, 18 years later, first time watching from a complete idiot, like let me know. I'm happy to recap. I'm happy to go more in depth. I just think this is the entertainment we should be like thriving right now. Like I know everyone's like Amber Heard, Johnny Depp. Okay. But this is more fascinating to me. Yeah, the Kardashians are bougie and they're super rich and like they're like beautiful. But like John Locke is teaching us how to hunt wild boar. Like there's just, I just want to live in 2005, 2004 forever. I have a band called Sad Boy 2005. And I just really love this era. And maybe it's me reverting back to this time because I feel like I blacked out most of 2004, 2005. Kind of a trauma time for me. So I think I'm like reliving that. My Chemical Romance is back on tour. Why not get Lost going back? And of all the reunions I've seen of the Lost, like the Lost cast like does not reunite. I feel like the Lost cast has some beef, if I'm being honest. Because they did like a 10-year thing with like, I don't know, maybe like Entertainment Weekly or something. Or like a Comic-Con or something. And like no one came back for it. Of the original cast, the only people I saw was Boone, Ian Somerhalder, Sun, Hurley, and I think that was it. And then two characters I hadn't even seen yet. Like they must come on season 2. Because I was like, who are these characters? So some guy with glasses and like another guy. I was like, so no one comes back for reunions. It's very weird. I think it was Sun who's like, I don't talk to anybody on the show. Like, how do you do this show and you bond? Like, for me, I want to be like on TV shows and stuff like that to like bond with people. Like when I used to do school plays, I used to like bonding with people. That was like my social life. So how do you not like, you don't grow a connection with these people? You don't want to like hang out with these people later? I guess not. I guess it is just an acting job, but it makes me sad that they don't hang out. It makes me sad that they don't do like reunion specials. I don't know. It makes me sad that like there's Dominic Monaghan has a podcast, but it's not dedicated to Lost. It's dedicated to Lord of the Rings. How can you compare the two? I've never seen Lord of the Rings, but I'm sorry. I don't want to know about a hobbit. I want to know about, the drug addict that survived a plane crash. You know what I mean? I don't know. I guess they're just so rich and they're just probably like, you know what? We were on that island. We made our coin. We do not need to be talking about this anymore. I don't know. If I was on a show, I have been on TV shows that I had like, I was like a walk-on role on Modern Family. And that's all I talk about 10 years later. It's like, this is how I got Modern Family. This is how much I got paid. I was in an Eminem music video one time. I was, you know, like I talk about all those things. Like, I mean, if I was on a freaking TV show like Lost, I'd be like everywhere. I would be all the Comic-Cons. I'd be everything talking about it. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. But you guys like this lighting? My husband did the lighting. He did it so it like shined on my face like the picture that I was trying to recreate. Kind of makes me look a little bit villainy. I look a little bit more like Dr. Evil. I don't know who I look like, but I think I can pull off no hair. I like the look. I like a no hair look. I've always wanted to shave my head. I've always wanted to shave my head, but I'm definitely not confident enough to do that. I'm not secure enough at all. I am so insecure. This is a whole other podcast. We're going now we're going to my therapy podcast. Okay, guys, the podcast that everybody asked for. You're very welcome. I know you're so excited for episode 2. So be sure to thumbs up this video to show me how excited you are so I can just see. I hope I've enlightened you. I hope I've educated you. If there's a Lost TV show Reddit, like I'm sure I'm like opening up your eyes to whole new things you guys didn't even think about. Next episode, I'll give more of my opinion. I feel like I kind of just summarized everything for you, but I got excited about it. I did just summarize everything. Look, it's really, really good. Watch the show on Hulu. Let me know if there's anything I need to know. I've been watching, like I said, like 101 facts you didn't know. Like if there's anything else I need to know, let me know. I already Googled all of their histories, so I think we got that out of the way now. I think next time we can get a little more deep into Lost and what it's about. All right, guys, I'll see you in the next video. Lostaways, Losties. Tell me your favorite character and why. And tell me which character you're just like, I don't really care. Because at this point, it's like Jack and Kay, I like couldn't care less if they were on the show. But it does change up. But like this point in Lost history, yeah, that's where I'm at. All right, guys. I will see you maybe in the next podcast. And hopefully my voice will sound better. All right. Don't tell me what I can't do.